I'm lying in this hospital bed, machines beeping around me, and I can hear them whispering by the door, my own family, the people who raised me for 24 years, and the words that come out of my mother's mouth. I'll never forget them. She's not our daughter. Let her... The sentence hangs in the air like poison. My father nods, adjusting his expensive watch. We've done enough. 24 years of charity is more than most people get. Charity. That's what I was to them. Charity. My name is Sarah, and this is the moment I realized that everything I believed about love, about family, about belonging, it was all a lie. The accident happened 3 days ago. A drunk driver ran a red light and slammed into my car at 60 miles per hour. The doctor said it was a miracle I survived. Internal bleeding, fractured ribs, a severe head injury. I've been drifting in and out of consciousness, but I was awake enough to hear them, to hear my parents, no, my former parents, discussing whether they should just let me go. The medical bills will be astronomical, Mom says, her voice cold as winter. And for what? She's not even really ours. Through the haze of painkillers, memories start flooding back. All those little moments that never made sense before suddenly click into place like puzzle pieces. Why I was the only one who didn't get birthday parties. Why Christmas morning always felt like an afterthought for me, while my younger brother got everything he wanted. Why family photos were taken just in case. But somehow I was always positioned at the edge, easy to crop out. I remember being 7 years old, crying because other kids at school were making fun of how different I looked from my parents. Mum had knelt down, but instead of comfort, she'd said, "Some children are just different. You should be grateful for what you have." Grateful. Another word that defined my childhood. I remember being 12 and breaking my arm falling off my bike. While my brother got rushed to the emergency room for a scraped knee the month before, I had to wait until the next day because it's probably just bruised. The bone had started setting wrong by then. That's why my left arm still aches when it rains. I remember high school graduation. I'd worked so hard, graduated valedictorian, earned a full scholarship to college. I was so excited to share the news. But when I got home, Mum was on the phone with her sister, and I heard her say, "Well, at least she'll be able to support herself now. One less thing for us to worry about." One less thing to worry about, but the memory that cuts deepest is from just 2 years ago. I'd saved up for months to buy Mum a beautiful necklace for Mother's Day. Real pearls, the kind she always admired in store windows. I was so proud, so hopeful that maybe this would show her how much I loved her, how grateful I was for everything. She opened the box, looked at the necklace, and her face, it wasn't joy, it wasn't love, it was almost irritated. "Sarah, honey, you shouldn't spend money on things like this. We've taught you to be practical." Then she'd set the box aside and never wore it. Not once. But last month, I saw her wearing an identical necklace that my brother had given her. "This one means so much more," she'd told her friends. "It's from my real son." Real son. Now I understand. I was never their real daughter. The machines keep beeping, and through my partially closed eyes, I watch them. Dad checks his phone constantly. Mum keeps glancing at her watch. They're not here out of love or worry. They're here because that's what people expect. The appearance of caring. "How long do we have to stay?" Dad asks a nurse who walks by. "Are you family?" the nurse asks. There's a pause that lasts forever. Yes, Mom finally says, but her voice lacks conviction. We're her parents. The nurse nods sympathetically. It's going to be a difficult recovery. She'll need a lot of support. Physical therapy, probably months of care at home. I see Mom and Dad exchange a look, the kind of look that speaks volumes. We'll need to discuss arrangements, Dad says carefully. Arrangements. Like I'm a piece of furniture they need to store somewhere. The nurse leaves and they think I'm unconscious again. That's when Mum pulls out her phone and makes a call. Yes, we need to discuss Sarah's situation, she says quietly. No, she's not going to be able to live independently for a while. What do you mean, what are our options? She's 24 years old. I know, but we have our own lives to think about. She's calling around, trying to find somewhere to dump me. A facility, a care home, anywhere but their house. But it's Dad's next words that shatter whatever was left of my heart. Look, we took her in as a favour 24 years ago. We've done our part, more than our part, but this isn't our responsibility anymore. A favour, I was a favour. The room spins, and it's not from the head injury. It's from the revelation that my entire life, every birthday, every Christmas morning, every family dinner, every I love you, I thought I heard. It was all just them going through the motions, playing house with the charity case. I hear footsteps approaching, the doctor probably, a new voice, professional and concerned. How is she responding? The doctor asks. Doctor, Dad says, and I can hear him putting on his caring father voice. We need to discuss her prognosis, realistically. She's very lucky, the doctor replies. With proper care and rehabilitation, she should make a full recovery. It'll take time and she'll need significant support, but what if she doesn't get that support? Mom interrupts. Hypothetically. There's a pause. I can almost feel the doctor's confusion. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Are you saying she won't have family support during her recovery? Another pause, longer this time. We're exploring all options, Dad says carefully. I want to scream. I want to sit up and tell them exactly what I think of their options. But I'm trapped in this broken body, trapped with these people who see me as nothing more than an inconvenience. The doctor's voice becomes stern. She's going to need extensive care. Someone will need to be responsible for her medication, her physical therapy appointments, helping her with basic daily activities for at least the first month. And if no one can do that, Mom asks, then we'd have to look into long-term care facilities. But insurance doesn't typically cover extended stays for someone her age unless there are extraordinary circumstances. How much would that cost? Dad asks immediately. Numbers are discussed. Big numbers. I can practically see the calculations happening in their heads. We need some time to think, Mum says finally. Think. They need time to think about whether I'm worth saving. After the doctor leaves, they stand there in silence for a long moment. Then Dad speaks, his voice lower now, more honest. We can't afford this, and even if we could, I know, Mum replies, 24 years. We've already given her 24 years. That's more than most people would do. She's not our responsibility, Dad continues. She never really was. We thought we were doing a good thing back then. A good thing. I was their good deed, their act of charity that they've been patting themselves on the back for my entire life. What do we tell people? Mum asks. The truth, Dad says simply, that we did everything we could, but sometimes life is just tragic. Tragic. My life is tragic to them, not precious, not valuable, tragic. I hear chairs being pulled up, and for a moment, just a moment, I think maybe they're going to stay. Maybe they're going to sit with me, hold my hand, tell me everything is going to be okay. Instead, I hear papers rustling. We should probably look into her affairs, Dad says quietly. See what she has. If there's anything that could help with the costs, they're going through my purse. Right here, while I'm lying broken in this bed, they're going through my belongings like vultures. Not much, Mum says. A few hundred in checking. That savings account she mentioned has maybe 3,000. Her car is totaled, obviously. What about that job of hers? Any benefits? She's a freelance graphic designer. No insurance, no benefits. We told her she should get a real job, but she never listened. A real job, because following my passion, being creative, building something of my own, that wasn't real to them. There's something else, Mom says, and her voice changes, becomes more interested. Look at this. Papers rustle again. What is it? Some kind of legal document about an inheritance. I can't quite make it out, but there are some big numbers here. An inheritance. They're talking about the envelope I've been carrying around for the past month. The one from the lawyer who tracked me down, the one I haven't had the courage to open yet, the one about my biological family. Should we open it? Dad asks. We can't, not yet, but when Mum's voice trails off, but I know what she was going to say. When I die. When they let me die. We should go, Dad says suddenly. Visiting hours are almost over. Should one of us stay? There's a long pause. The nurses are here, Dad says, finally. She's in good hands. Good hands, but not their hands, never their hands. I hear them gathering their things, putting their coats on, getting ready to leave me here, alone, to face whatever comes next. Mum approaches the bed. For just a second, I think she might touch my hand, might whisper that she loves me, might give me some small sign that 24 years meant something. Instead, she adjusts the blanket slightly and says, "Goodbye, Sarah." Not good night, not see you tomorrow, not we love you. Goodbye. And then they're gone. The room falls silent except for the steady beep of machines and the distant sounds of the hospital. I'm alone, truly, completely alone. The people I called Mum and Dad for 24 years just walked out of my life. Like I was nothing, like I never mattered at all. But as I lie here in the darkness, something starts to change inside me. The devastation is still there, the heartbreak, the crushing realization that I never had a real family. But underneath it, something else is growing. Anger. Not the hot, explosive kind, the cold, calculating kind, the kind that builds strength instead of destroying it. They want to let me die. They want to walk away from their charity case after 24 years. They're interested in that inheritance envelope, but only after I'm gone. Well, I have news for them. I'm not going anywhere. And that envelope they're so curious about. They're going to get to see what's inside it sooner than they think. Just not in the way they're expecting. I close my eyes and let the anger fuel me. Let it give me strength. Because I'm going to survive this, not for them, not because of them. Despite them. And when I do, they're going to learn exactly what happens when you abandon someone who was never really yours to begin with. The machines keep beeping steadily, my heartbeat still going strong, game on. 7 days. That's how long it took me to decide I wasn't going to be their victim anymore. The first few days after they left were the hardest. Not because of the physical pain, though that was excruciating, but because of the silence. The complete absence of anyone who cared whether I lived or died. Nurses came and went, checking vitals, adjusting medications, asking how I felt. But there was no one to call when the nightmares hit. No one to hold my hand when the panic attacks made breathing impossible. On day 3, I finally worked up the courage to open that envelope. My hands were still shaky from the medications, but I managed to tear it open carefully. Inside was a letter from Peterson and Associates, a law firm I'd never heard of. And what I read changed everything. Dear Ms. Sarah Catherine Morrison, we have been retained to locate you regarding the estate of your biological grandfather, Harrison Blackwood III. Recent DNA testing has confirmed your identity as his sole living heir. Harrison Blackwood III. The name meant nothing to me, but the numbers that followed. Those meant everything. $18 million, property in 3 states, a trust fund that had been growing for 24 years, waiting for me to be found. Stock options, business interests, real estate investments, and a letter from the grandfather I never knew existed, written before he died 3 years ago. Sarah, if you're reading this, it means you've been found. I've spent the last 15 years searching for you after learning about the private adoption your mother arranged. She was my daughter, and losing her in that car accident when you were 6 months old nearly destroyed me. But losing you, that was my greatest failure. I know you've been raised by another family, and I hope they've loved you as much as I would have. But you are a Blackwood, and that comes with both privilege and responsibility. This inheritance isn't just money, it's your birthright, your security, and your freedom to choose your own path. I pray that when you receive this, you are surrounded by people who value you for who you are, not what you can give them. With all my love, Grandfather, I had to read it 3 times before it sank in. My biological mother hadn't abandoned me, she died. And I had a grandfather who spent 15 years trying to find me, who left me everything he had because he loved me without ever meeting me. The irony was devastating. The people who raised me saw me as a burden, a charity case, an obligation they couldn't wait to shed. But somewhere out there, a man I'd never met had considered me precious enough to build an empire for. By day 5, I was sitting up on my own. The doctors were amazed at my recovery rate, but I knew what was driving it. Pure determination. Every time the pain threatened to overwhelm me, I thought about that letter. I thought about my biological grandfather searching for me while my adoptive parents were calculating the cost of keeping me alive. That's when I made the call. Peterson and Associates, a professional voice answered. This is Sarah Morrison. I believe you've been looking for me. The silence on the other end was brief but telling. Miss Morrison, my God, we've been trying to reach you for months. Are you all right? We heard about the accident. It turned out the law firm had been tracking me down through various channels, including hospital records. They knew about the crash, knew I was hurt, and had been waiting for the right moment to approach me. I need to ask you something, I said, my voice stronger than it had been in days. Is this inheritance? Is it real? All of it? Every penny, the lawyer, Mr. Peterson, assured me. Your grandfather was a very wealthy man and very specific about his wishes. Everything is yours, Miss Morrison. The only requirement is that you claim it in person once you're able. What if someone else tries to claim it? People who raised me? There was a pause. Miss Morrison, only you can claim this inheritance. The DNA testing, the documentation, everything is ironclad. No one else has any legal right to your grandfather's estate. That night, I lay in my hospital bed planning not just my recovery, but my future. And more immediately, what I was going to do about the people who had raised me for 24 years and then abandoned me the moment I became inconvenient. On day 6, I was transferred to a rehabilitation facility. Not because my former family had arranged it, they hadn't called once, but because my new lawyer had taken care of everything. Suddenly, I had the best care money could buy. Private rooms, specialized therapists. The contrast was stark and deliberate. Day 7 was when everything changed. I was in physical therapy, working on regaining full mobility in my left leg when I saw them through the window. Mom, Dad, and my brother, Kevin, walking up to the main desk. They looked nervous, dressed in their best clothes, like they were going to a job interview. I quickly finished my session and made my way back to my room, my heart pounding. After 7 days of silence, they were back. But why? The answer came 20 minutes later when they knocked on my door. Sarah, sweetheart. Mum's voice was sickeningly sweet, completely different from the cold tone she'd used at the hospital. She rushed over like she was going to hug me, but I stepped back. Don't, I said quietly. They all stopped, the fake smiles faltering slightly. Honey, we've been so worried, Dad said, but his eyes were darting around the room, taking in the expensive equipment, the private setting. This is quite nice. How did you manage to afford... We tried to visit you at the hospital, Kevin added, but they said you'd been transferred. We've been looking for you everywhere. Lies, all lies. But I could see what they were really doing. They were cataloguing, calculating, wondering how someone without insurance or family support had ended up in a place like this. How are you feeling? Mom asked, reaching for my hand. I pulled away again. Better. Much better, actually. That's wonderful. Dad's enthusiasm felt rehearsed. We've been thinking, but Yuki, maybe it's time you came home, stayed with us while you recover. We feel terrible about not being more supportive right away. The shock of the accident, you understand. Home. The place where I'd never really belonged, where I'd been made to feel like an outsider for 24 years. Now they wanted me to come back? Why? I asked simply. They exchanged glances. Because you're family, Mum said, but the words sounded hollow. Because we love you. Do you? I asked. Do you really? Another exchange of glances. Of course we do, Kevin said. You're our sister. Sister. Not half-sister, not adopted sister. Suddenly, I was just sister. That's interesting, I said, settling into the chair by my bed, because a week ago, I distinctly remember hearing that I wasn't your daughter at all. The silence was deafening. You were unconscious, Dad said carefully. You must have been confused. The medications... I heard every word, I said, my voice steady and clear. Every single word about how I was charity, about how 24 years was more than most people would give, about how I wasn't your responsibility. Mum's face had gone pale. Sarah, you have to understand, we were in shock. We say things when we're scared that we don't mean. You meant every word I said. And you know what? I'm glad, because now I know exactly where I stand. Look, Dad said, his voice taking on a more businesslike tone. We're here now. We want to make things right. We want to take care of you. Take care of me? I almost laughed. Where were you for the past week? Where were you when I was doing physical therapy? Alone? When I had panic attacks in the middle of the night? When I needed someone, anyone, to tell me I was going to be okay? We thought you needed space, Mum said weakly. Space, right. I looked at each of them in turn. So, what changed? What made you suddenly remember that I exist? More silence. We heard you might have come into some money, Kevin said finally, and I almost admired his honesty. Almost. Ah, I said, there it is. It's not like that, Dad said quickly. We've always cared about you, Sarah. Always. But if you've inherited something, well, that's wonderful. It means you'll be able to take care of yourself. And you want to help me manage it, I said. It wasn't a question. We have experience with finances, Mum said. We could help you make smart decisions, invest wisely, make sure you're set for life. Make sure I'm set for life, I repeated. How generous of you. Sarah, don't be like this, Kevin said. We're trying to do the right thing here. The right thing? My voice rose slightly, the first crack in my composure. The right thing would have been staying with me when I was dying. The right thing would have been caring about me before you heard about money. The right thing would have been treating me like family for the past 24 years, instead of like a burden you couldn't wait to get rid of. We did treat you like family, Dad protested. Did you? I stood up slowly, my leg still weak but my resolve strong. Let me ask you something. When was my last birthday party? Silence. When was the last time you told me you were proud of me? More silence. When was the last time you included me in a family photo without me having to ask? The silence stretched on. You can't answer because the answers are never, never, and never, I said. I was the charity case you kept around to make yourselves feel good. The good deed you could point to when people asked about your generosity. Oh yes, we adopted a child. We're such good people. That's not fair, Mum said, tears starting to form in her eyes. Isn't it? I asked. Tell me one time, just one time, when you chose me over Kevin, when you put my needs first, when you made me feel like I actually mattered. The tears were coming harder now, but I could see the calculation behind them, the performance. We did the best we could, she said. No, I said firmly. You did the minimum required to maintain your image as good people. There's a difference. Sarah, please, Dad said. We're here now. We want to make up for our mistakes. We want to be a real family. A real family, I repeated. Now that there's money involved. It's not about the money, Kevin said. Isn't it? I walked over to my bedside table and pulled out the envelope, the one they'd been so interested in at the hospital. Because I think it is entirely about the money. Their eyes locked onto the envelope like magnets. Is that, Mum started, the inheritance you were discussing while I was unconscious? I nodded. The one you thought you might get your hands on if I died. Yes, this is it. I could see the hunger in their eyes now, barely concealed. Sarah, Dad said carefully, that's a legal document. It should be handled properly, by people who understand these things. People like you? I asked. We just want to help, Mom said. Help yourselves, I corrected. You want to know what's in here? You want to know about the inheritance? They all nodded, trying to look concerned rather than greedy. $18 million, I said simply. The room went dead silent. I could actually see them doing the math in their heads. 18, Dad's voice cracked. Million, I confirmed, plus property, investments, trust funds. My biological grandfather spent 15 years looking for me. He left me everything because he loved me, even though he never got to meet me. Your biological grandfather? Mum's voice was barely a whisper. Harrison Blackwood III. Apparently my birth mother was his daughter. She died in a car accident when I was 6 months old, and he spent the rest of his life trying to find me. But we never told you about your birth parents, Kevin said stupidly. No, you didn't. You told me they didn't want me. You told me I should be grateful that you took me in. You told me I was lucky to have a family at all. I looked directly at Mom. Do you remember that conversation? I was 8 years old and I asked why I looked different from everyone else. You told me some children are just different and I should be grateful for what I have. She was crying openly now, but I felt nothing. Turns out my birth mother loved me enough to die protecting me in that car accident. And my grandfather loved me enough to spend 15 years and millions of dollars trying to find me. The only people who didn't love me were the ones who raised me. Sarah, please, Dad said. We did love you. We do love you. Prove it, I said. What? Prove it. If this isn't about money, if you really love me, then prove it. Walk away right now. Leave me alone to recover and don't come back. Don't call, don't visit, don't try to contact me at all. If you really love me, respect my wishes and leave me in peace. They looked at each other, panic in their eyes. But we're family, Mum said weakly. No, I said firmly. We're not. You made that very clear a week ago. I'm not your daughter, remember? You said so yourself. We were wrong, Kevin said desperately. We were scared and confused and wrong. You were honest, I corrected. For the first time in 24 years, you were completely honest about how you really felt about me. I walked to the door and opened it. I think you should leave now, I said. Sarah, please, just think about this, Dad said. Don't make a decision you'll regret. We raised you. We gave you a home, an education, opportunities. You gave me the bare minimum required by law, I said. And only until I turned 18. After that, I was on my own anyway, remember? You made sure I understood that. But the money changes things, Mom said desperately. We could be a real family now. We could travel together, spend time together, make up for lost time. And there it was, the truth, finally. The money changes things, I repeated. Not love, not regret about how you treated me, not genuine desire to have a relationship with me. The money. I looked at each of them one more time, these people who had shaped my entire childhood, who had made me feel small and unwanted and grateful for scraps of affection. Get out, I said quietly. Sarah, get out, I shouted, and for the first time in my life I saw them actually afraid of me. They left, but not without a final attempt. We'll be back, Dad said from the doorway. This isn't over. You can't just throw away 24 years of family. "I'm not throwing it away," I said. "You already did that a week ago, when you walked out of that hospital room and left me to die." The door closed behind them and I was alone again. But this time the silence felt different, not empty, not abandoned, free. I looked down at the envelope in my hands and smiled for the first time since the accident. They'd wanted to know what was inside it so badly. They'd come back after a week of silence just to get their hands on it. Well, they were going to find out what was inside it, just not the way they expected. I picked up my phone and dialed a number. "Mr. Peterson, it's Sarah Morrison. I think it's time we had that meeting."